I ended up in New Orleans because of a memory I had when I was a senior in high school. I go home and turn on the TV and see thousands of people who look like me wading through waters that were waist deep because of Katrina. I'd never seen suffering of that magnitude before. And I said to myself then, like, I have no money, my family's broke, but the earliest opportunity I get, I'm gonna move from California to go be of service to the city in any way I can. In New Orleans, the median household income for whites sits at roughly $68,000 a year to black families $23,000 a year. Unless something changes, it's going to take roughly 228 years to close that gap for most kids across the country. Regardless of the conditions they're born into, their birth oftentimes defines their fate. And so I wondered what I could build with others that could change those odds. In cities across the country, there's tens and thousands of jobs opening that pay well above regional median salaries, don't necessarily require a four-year college degree, and could lift thousands out of poverty in communities across the country. We said 4 years ago, well, what if we built high schools that not only got kids into really great colleges that worked for them, but also fast-tracked them to these type of opportunities sooner? This sort of question became the groundswell that led to Rooted. A student coming out of Rooted could comfortably start earning $50,000 a year right out of high school if they wanted. That is what makes what we're doing here game-changing, and this is what I believe is possible in cities all across the country. Equity in the charter sector moving forward, from my point of view, is us reversing the narrative that we've been living, which has treated people who are proximal to the most entrenched problems that we deal with in our schools, treating them as inferior or less than or less credible voices, and now treating them more as expert voices.
I think as a person, a white male of privilege and a veteran of the school reform movement, I'm not seen as a risk by many people. Jonathan, in his practice, not just his identity as a person of color and as a man who's experienced going through school in a way that's much different than mine, that should be leveraged more and considered more expert than mine, we'd see him as a risk because he's not proven, he's not proximate to power, he's not traditionally seen as someone who comes with boxes checked, which over time we have sort of created for ourselves. It's a tragedy that that's the way we see the world.
For a strong majority of our students, I have traveled the distance that they will need to travel in order to get to the other side of what they're confronted with. And that, to me, is one of my greatest values as the founder of this school. Is the first day of school, they hear my story and how I got to be where I'm at, so that as they see me going in and out, and when I'm giving them feedback on things, like, they know the place that it's coming from.
I'll probably be locked up if I didn't come to the school. As I grew older, it's like all I've seen is most of us in jail or jumping somebody or fighting other people. But as soon as I came to the school, seeing Mr. Johson do the things that he's been doing, if Mr. Johson came from this person to building this multi-millionaire company, it's like anybody can do it. He's showing us what freedom looks like. He's showing us what freedom feels like. And ever since I've been in the school, I felt freedom. So seeing him doing that is life-changing for me, actually.
In a place like New Orleans, or even in a place like Indy or a place like Seattle, you have a tale of two cities. You have young people who will be different races, but growing up in roughly the same socioeconomic status. And by the time they become adults, they're making vastly different incomes, and so as a result are living vastly different worlds apart. Unless we are willing to take bold risks into doing things that have not been done or doing things that are different, it's going to be centuries before young people like me can finally catch up. We partner with companies in these sectors, understand the entry-level jobs that they have available, distill the skills and competencies that are needed to be competitive for those jobs, and then we backwards design our curriculum from those needs, so that by the end of 4 years with us, our students are not only getting accepted to a post-secondary institution, but they're also getting a full-time job offer from one of these companies. What I believe is special about Charter Leaders of Color is that I know I'm not the only leader of color who has big dreams about what is possible, not only for our kids to achieve, but for our country to achieve in order to fulfill its promise to our kids. And I know that very many of us, though, feel those dreams locked up inside of us and don't quite know how to let them manifest, and oftentimes don't feel the permission to let them come out. What I hope coming out of an opportunity like this and the conversations that I know will follow is that more and more people use the unique lens that they have as leaders of color who have traveled the distance that the kids will have to travel to illuminate a new vision or new visions of what might be possible so that our country might reach further in order to bring about justice for the kids that need it the most.